my name is Ayesha, and I'd like to welcome you to this really exciting event called FBI Entrapment, Preemptive Stories of Prosecution. Now, first I'd like to thank our sponsors for making this event possible. Thank you National Lawyers Guild NYU Chapter, Middle Eastern Law Students Association, Islamic Law Students Association, Law Students for Human Rights, WESPAC, Project Salam, Muslim Solidarity Committee, Muslim Graduate Student Group, and NYU Law ACLU. Special thanks to Gabe Armas, Noor Elashi, Allison Dager, Renda Webby, Ann Gibbons, Habib Khan, Wamik Chowdhury, and our videographer Paul Park. Tonight's event began as an idea to have the family members of the Newburgh Four speak. I remember getting a frantic call from my grand-aunt, Nikki Nani, last year, asking me if I was okay after she heard that there was an attempted terrorist plot in the Bronx where I work. The first thing that crossed my mind was, oh God, I hope they're not Muslim. I remember quickly running to the TV, and sure enough, the story was not hard to find. In fact, it was on every single news channel. 4 black Muslim men plotting to blow up a synagogue and U.S. military plane. The high drama story continued. All 4 men were ex-prisoners for drug-related activities, converted to Islam in prison, were unemployed, poor, and had little educational background. Something did not add up. And so when WESPAC hosted the family of the Newburgh Four to share a side of the story not covered in mainstream media, I jumped at the opportunity. This experience completely changed my view of the case, and I felt it was necessary for Ayesha and her family to tell New York City that this case consisted of an FBI informant bribing vulnerable men with money, food, employment, assistance in healthcare bills, and marijuana to join a terror plot. Once we began advertising this event, however, I began to get phone calls and emails from people all over the Northeast whose fathers, sons, or brothers were in prison for similar charges. The event quickly transformed from a focus on entrapment cases and expanded to encompass stories of other violations of civil rights. The more I started receiving these calls, the more I began to connect the dots and realized how these are not isolated cases, but are actually happening in large numbers across the country. Throughout the evening, you will be hearing narratives regarding the use of agent provocateurs, FBI informants, and bogus criminal charges posed against marginalized communities. While all of the cases that will be presented tonight reflect individuals from diverse backgrounds, they are all united thematically by abuses with respect to due process. Our first speaker is Ayesha McWilliams, aunt of David Williams, one of the Newburgh Four. Ayesha is a community activist and family activist who has worked with many community-based organizations. Her main focus is on issues surrounding re-entry for ex-offenders. Next, you will be hearing from Layla Duca, a 12-year-old girl whose father and 2 uncles were incarcerated as part of the Fort Dix 5 case. Layla's uncle will give us more details about this case later. Next on the panel is Lynn Jackson and attorney Stephen Downs from Project Salam, an organization devoted to researching and documenting the likelihood that the U.S. Justice Department's post-9/11 terrorism-related prosecutions and convictions have included a significant number of Muslims who were in fact innocent of any crime. We will then hear from Faisal Hashmi, brother of Fahad Hashmi, who has been in pretrial solitary confinement for almost 3 years for, according to the FBI, allowing someone to stay at his apartment for 2 weeks who eventually delivered wet socks and ponchos to Al-Qaeda. Noor Elashi will then speak, who is the daughter of Holy Land Foundation political prisoner Ghassan Elashi. She is currently pursuing her creative writing MFA at the New School, where she's working on a memoir about her family's narrative of displacement. Last, we will hear from Mori Salakhan, a metropolitan Washington, D.C. based human rights advocate who currently serves as Director of Operations for the Peace and Justice Foundation. After the panelists speak, we will have a 15-minute question and answer session. When I think of tonight's event, I'm reminded of a quote by Reverend Martin Niemöller, which goes, "First they came for the communists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for the Catholics, and I didn't speak up because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me, and by that time, there was no one left to speak up for me." Although you may not identify as part of the communities represented tonight, we hope that you will be able to connect to their stories human to human. Thank you.